So you want to know the truth, huh?
All right, let's talk about it. Don't get me wrong, cycling is a great sport, but like anything in life, it definitely has its drawbacks. But if you're black or minority like me, the lack of diversity in cycling is something that could potentially make your experience very, very toxic. I don't want you to be surprised if you turn up to a group ride or to a bike shop and you happen to be the only black or minority in the store or on the ride. Even when you're searching for information on the internet around cycling, it's very rare that you'll see somebody who looks just like you. For example, let's do a quick look at YouTube just to see what kind of stuff pops up when I look for cycling training tips. So I just did a quick search, and as you can see here, there aren't really anybody on here that looks like me. You probably notice this as well when you're doing some shopping online for cycling apparel, cycling clothing. But personally, after cycling for 5 years, I don't think this is something that you should let deter you or even become toxic. And though representation isn't the best in the sport of cycling, I've still managed to meet a lot of great people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, and the bike has brought us together where we're able to have important discussions, not in a combative sense, but to just get a better understanding of one another and get to know one another as human beings. Another thing I want to warn you about is the cycling culture as a whole. And if you've been cycling for a while, what I'm about to say is not going to surprise you, but the culture of cycling can be very, very toxic. What I mean by that is if you're a beginner cyclist and you show up with the wrong shoes, the wrong kit, with too many spacers under your handlebar, there's a high possibility that people will judge you, especially if you're showing up to a group ride or something like that. The best thing I could recommend is find your tribe, so to speak. What I mean by that is people who are willing to help you without being judgmental and making you feel like an outcast. It can take a little time for you to find people that you genuinely and authentically connect with in the world of cycling, but it's definitely something I want to warn you about because I have seen some people come into the sport and completely be turned off by its culture and give up cycling completely. Another thing that can be toxic is how expensive the sport of cycling is. And while expensive prices may not be toxic in and of itself, finances can cause issues in relationships, whether that be with your family or your partner. The good news is there's a lot of bike shops and websites out there that offer discount sales pretty regularly. So you can come to terms with your partner or your family and come up with a schedule when and where you want to buy your equipment so that it's reasonable and they can support your new hobby. On top of that, if you plan to compete, training for events can be very, very selfish. And what I mean by that is the time commitment. It's realistic that you'll have days on the bike where you need to ride 3, 4, 5 hours even. So keep that in mind if this is a path that you want to go down in the world of cycling. Probably the most toxic thing about the sport of cycling is weight. Now, if you're planning to compete or just even riding recreationally, I want you to be aware of the dangers of you falling into the trap of wanting or feeling like you need to hold a certain weight. This is a very, very serious point because I personally have friends that have suffered from eating disorders, and this is a very, very real danger. And I think this is probably the most toxic thing about cycling. So I wanted to put it on your radar. And I want you to know that if you're riding a bike, you are already doing more than most people in the world. You're exercising daily or most days during the week. You're getting outside in nature. Make sure you give yourself credit. And if you do find yourself struggling with this, absolutely get help when you need it. These are just some of the toxic traits of cycling. And like I said in the beginning of the video, nothing is perfect in life, and cycling definitely isn't. I think it's a great sport. After riding my bike for 5 years, it's completely changed my life for the better. So I didn't make this video to deter you from the sport, but I want you to have a realistic expectation of what you might face as you start your cycling journey. And for everybody, it's gonna be different. So if you've been cycling for a number of years, please add anything in the comment section that you feel new riders should watch out for as well. I think we need to get more people into this sport so that we all can become healthier people mentally and physically.